Hello student, today I am taking class 8 Social Science Geography Chapter 4 Agriculture. Now today what we study here, what is an agriculture, what type of farm systems, what are the types of farmings. In the types of farming there are two types of farming. First one is subsistence farming. Do you know in subsistence farming it is divided into intensive subsistence farming and second one is primitive subsistence farming. Now, in the primitive subsistence farming, again it is divided shifting cultivation, nomadic herding. Next one is commercial farming. So, two types of farmings are there, subsistence farming and the commercial farming. In commercial farming, we will study about mixed farming and then again in commercial farming, plantation, what types of major crops, agriculture development, agriculture in developing and developed countries, what type of farms in India and what type of farms in USA, that we all study in this topic. So now today we will start from here. See what is actually when we talk about the products. So you see the transformation from a plant to a finished product, it involves three types of economic activities. The activities are three types: primary, secondary and tertiary. From the natural, then the process is going on, we are doing the manufacturing and we produce the products. So there are three types of economic activities are going on, that is primary, secondary and tertiary activities. What is called the primary activity? An activity which is directly related to extraction and production of natural resource, that is called primary activity. For example, the agriculture, fishing and gathering or hunting and so on. So that all will become in the primary activities. Like in agriculture we are growing the crops, so that will comes under primary activity. In mineral industries we are taking the raw material from the mines, so that will come in the primary activity. Next one is secondary activity. Secondary activity means manufacturing and processing. So the activity is not, it is not directly related to extraction or production of natural resource. Instead, it is concerned with processes. Processing means we had brought the resource from the primary activities and now we are making manufacturing. Yes, for example, manufacturing of steels, baking of bread, weaving of cloths, all this will become under the secondary activity. Now the next one is tertiary activity. Do you know this activity is concerned with those which provide services, means it support to the primary and secondary sectors. For example, transport, banking, insurance, advertising, etc. So did you understand our activities are divided into three parts: primary, secondary and tertiary. But now here we are going to study about the primary activities. Mostly your topic is related with the agriculture. So see, what is an agriculture? The word agriculture is derived from the Latin word ager, or agri meaning soils and culture means cultivation. Do you know? So where these activities come? Agriculture comes under primary activity. What happen in this? It includes growing of the crops, fruits, vegetables, flowers and rearing of livestock, means we are domesticating animals. That all will become under agriculture activities. In all over the world you can see near about 50% of the persons depend on agriculture activity. Some are directly or some are indirectly. You see, when we talk about our Indian peoples, so 2/3 of Indian populations that depends on agriculture. Do you know the land on which we are growing the crop, that land is called arable land. And agriculture practices, wherever the peoples are doing agriculture activities, they need some favorable condition. What type of favorable conditions? Like suitable topography of the soil, climatic condition, temperature, what amount of rainfall, all factors are depend on these agriculture activities. Now farm system. What is called the farm system? See, agriculture or farmings can be looked at as a system. When we look as a system, so you see there are some inputs are required. The important inputs are, first we need the seeds, after that we need fertilizers, manures and all, then we need some machinery tools and labor. All these things are required. Some of the operation involved, like when the farmer is doing activity, first step is like plugging. They are plugging the field, after that they are sowing the seeds. When they sow the seed, after sowing they are in a need of water. So the water we are providing, that comes under irrigation facilities. What is called weeding? Weeding means the unwanted plants which are growing with this agricultural land, that should be removed. That is called weeding. And in the final, when the crops will be grown, matured, then last steps that will become harvesting. So first step is plugging, then sowing, irrigation, weeding and harvesting. And what comes in the outputs? Outputs form of the system includes crops, wool, dairy and poultry products, that will be comes. So all these will be comes under farm system. Do you know the farm system of an arable farm we will study? So see here this chart. What are the inputs we provide, what are the processes going on and what are the outputs? See, inputs, we need machineries, we need seeds, we need chemicals. Machinery, what the machinery is doing? They are helping the pluggings. Plugs we are using now. Seeds and chemicals, because these seeds we are sowing in the land and chemicals we are spraying. After that, what happens, when these processes are going in the soil, then the crops will be grown and that is the output. Next, what are the physical and human farm inputs? Means, see, physical inputs, what we need? Natural substance, like we need sunshine, the crops need sunshine, then temperature, rainfall, it needs as water for the soil and the slope area. This will become under physical inputs. Human inputs for the farming, storage. Why storage is necessary? Because after harvesting the crops, where we can store? Labor needs for doing all the agriculture activities in the land, some machineries and some chemicals. So that comes under human inputs. Now, when we talking about the farming, so how many types of farmings are there? Farmings are practices in various way across the world. See, and it depend upon their geographical conditions, demand of the produce, labors and level of technology they adopted. So farmings can be classified into two main types. My dear student, be careful regarding this, because this will become in the class 10th also. So be careful about this topic. So these are subsistence farmings and commercial farming. So farmings are classified into two main types, that is subsistence farming and commercial farming. What is called subsistence farming? Do you know? This farming is done merely to meet the needs of the farmers' families. So generally they need low levels of technologies, conventional methods and equipments and household labors are used to produce a small outputs. So that will becomes under subsistence farming. When we study in detail, so subsistence farmings can be classified as intensive subsistence agriculture, primitive subsistence agriculture. So what is intensive subsistence agriculture? You see, in intensive subsistence agriculture, simple tools and huge labor is used by a farmer to cultivate a small plot of land. Do you know, more than one crops are sown in favorable climatic conditions, like large numbers of days here with good sunshine and fertile soils. Do you know, rice is the main crop. After that it is followed by wheat, maize, pulses and oilseeds. All these are grown. Do you know, these farmings prevalent where these mostly the thickly populated areas of the monsoon regions of Southeast and East Asia. Next, primitive subsistence agriculture. Do you know, It includes shifting of cultivations and nomadic herdings. So what is called shifting means they are not living in one place, they are moving from one place to another. See, this cultivation is practiced in the thickly forested areas where no plain lands are available, like of Amazon basin, tropical Africa, parts of Southeast Asia and Northeast India. Do you know, these are the areas of heavy rainfall and quick regeneration of vegetation, because if there is a good amount of rainfall, definitely the new plants will be grow fast. So what they are doing, a plot of land is cleared, means they are clearing some part of the forest by felling the trees. After that they are burning them. So now they create a plain area. After that, what they are doing, the ashes they had got from burning these trees and they mix with the soil. After that they plug the land, this part of the land, and growing the crops like maize, yam, potatoes and cassava. So these are grown. So these are called shifting cultivation. Do you know what happened? Can they are doing continuously these agriculture activity? No. When the soil loses its fertility, so what they do, this land is abandoned, and now what these cultivators, they leave the land and these cultivators move toward the new land. Again they are moving other place, again they are cutting the forest, they are burning the trees. After that the ashes they are mixed with the soil and they are sowing the crops. In this way they are moving from one place to another. That is why we had given name shifting cultivation. Do you know, shifting cultivation is known by different names in different parts of the world. As you see, when we talk about our India, so in Northeast India it is known by the name Jhuming, and in Mexico Milpa, and in Brazil Roca, and in Malaysia it is called ladens. But do you know, this shifting cultivation, it destroy the natural environment. Now you see the next one. This is a class of primitive subsistence agriculture, and this cultivation is also known by name slash and burn agriculture. As you know, they are cutting the forest and then burning, so we also call as slash and burning agriculture. As the vegetation of peace is land is created by burning and cutting of the trees. So don't get confused about this. Now next, nomadic herdings. Some groups of the peoples, they are not, what happen when they are living in one place, when there is no crops available and there is no food for their animals are available, pasture lands are available, so they are moving with their herds from one place to another. So that we had given the name nomadic herding. This type of farming is practiced mostly in the semi-arid regions where very less rainfall, like Sahara, Central Asia and some parts of India. Mostly in our India like Jammu and Kashmir, then Ladakh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, these places, some groups of the peoples, Rakas, all these are moving from one place to another. Like in Rajasthan and Jammu and Kashmir. Do you know, this refers to the practices in which herdsmen, they are having groups of the animals, they move from place to place with their animal for fodder and water. So when they are moving from one place to another, so what they are doing, they are remaining from one place, so they are doing some agricultural activities. After harvesting, they are moving from one place to another. Animal usually reared by these nomadic, they are reared the yak, sheep, camel and goat. Do you know, these animals provide various products like milk, meat, wool, hides and so on. Now we are taking commercial farming. Commercial farming is done for the large purpose. Now see, in commercial farming, the crops are grown and animals are reared for sale in market. These are cultivated and the amount of capital which is used in a large form. So most of the work is done by here machine. Commercial farming includes commercial grain farmings, mixed farming and plantation agriculture. Commercial grain farming, mixed farming and plantation agriculture. Do you know, in commercial grain farming, crops are grown for commercial purpose. Wheat and maize are areas where commercial grain farming is practiced. Mostly it is practiced on temperate grassland of North America with large farms spreading over 100 of the hectares of the lands are using here. Do you know? When severe winter comes, it restricts the growings of seasons and only a single crops can be grown. Mixed farming. Do you know? This land is used for growing food and fodder crops and rearing livestock. Means they are growing the crops for food, even they want the fodder for their animals and rearing the livestock. So it is practiced mostly in Europe, Eastern USA, Argentina, Southeast Australia, New Zealand and South Africa. Next one is a plantation. Plantation means one type of plants can be grow in the row. See, plantations are type of commercial farmings where a single crop of like tea, coffee, sugarcane, cashew, rubber, banana or cottons, these are grown. Do you know, here a large amount of labors and capitals are required for this plantation. They the produce may be processed. It will be processed on farm itself or nearby the factories. The development, it needs a development of transport network and thus it is essential for such type of farming like plantation. Do you know major plantations are found in tropical region of the world? Rubber in Malaysia, coffee in Brazil, tea in India and Sri Lanka are some examples of major plantation programs. Do you know what are the major crops grown? Large variety of crops are grown to meet the requirement of the growing population. So crops are also supply some raw materials for agro-based industries. Major food crops we are growing for wheat, rice, maize and millets. Jute and cottons are the fiber crops we are growing. So mostly these are the major crops grown in all over the world in the large amount. Now what are the major crops we will study here? So we will study each crops here. First one is the rice. Do you know rice is a major food crops of the world. It is a staple diet of tropical and subtropical regions. Do you know rice need, when they want to grow those crops, rice need high humidity, it needs more water, high temperature, humidity, high temperature and needs high rainfall. It grows best in alluvial clay soil is best for growing this crop and which can retain, because this soil can retain, absorb more water. That is why the China and India, they are the larger producers of rice in the world. And in the West Bengal and Bangladesh, where favorable climatic conditions are present, so 2 or 3 crops are grown in a year, means they are growing more. Next crops after the rice, that is wheat. Do you know wheat thrives best where it grows well? It grows well in drained loamy soil and moderate temperature and rainfall is necessary during its growing season. It needs bright sunshines and at the time of harvest. Now mostly it comes under Rabi crops. Do you know the major producers of wheat are USA, Canada, Argentina and India. Do you know in India wheat is grown where water is available. Next after that the third crops it is millets. Do you know they are also known as coarse grain. It requires merely less fertile and sandy soils. It is hardy crops that needs low rainfall and high moderate temperature and adequate rainfall. The major coarse grains which comes under these grains, millets, jowar, bajra and ragi, and it is mainly grown in India and then it is followed by Nigeria, China and Niger. These are growing. After that the maize. As you know maize grows well in moderate temperature, it needs good amount of rainfall and good sunshine. It also requires well drained fertile soils. The major producers of these maize are North America, Brazil, China, Russia, Canada, India and Mexico. Next one is the cotton. Do you know it grows best in black and alluvial soil. It needs high temperature, light rainfall, 210 free days and bright sunshine it needs. It is one of the main raw material for the cotton textile industries. So, the leading producer of cotton are China, USA, India, Pakistan, Brazil and Egypt. After that, next one is the jute. It is a commercial crops. Cotton is also commercial crop. C. It is also known as golden fiber. Jute grows best in high temperature, heavy rainfall and humid climate, and also on alluvial soil. The tropical countries like India and Bangladesh, these are the leading producers of the jute. Do you know Bangladesh leads first in the world for the jute production. After that, now we are talking about coffee. Coffee, do you know, it well grown on hilly slopes with warm and wet climate and well drained loamy soil. Brazil is the leading producers of coffee in the world. Next one, the tea. Tea is a beverage crops grown on plantation. It needs well drained loamy soils and gentle slopy area. Labor in large amount is required because they have to pick the leaves. That is why more labor demanded these tea plantation. Main tea producer in the countries are Kenya, India, China and Sri Lanka. Next, we had talked about the types of agriculture, farming, cultivations, which type of crops are growing here. Now we are talking about agriculture development. See, agriculture development refers to what type of efforts are made to increase this production in order to meet the growing demand for increasing population. If we will not do any effort for agriculture development, one day there will be crisis of the foods. So this can be achieved in so many ways, like increasing the cropped area. When we increase the area where we are growing the crops, that will be increased. So the number of crops can be grown. We can improve the irrigation facilities. We will use the fertilizers and we use high yielding variety of seeds, HYV seeds. So by these we can definitely increase more development in agriculture. You know, mechanism of agriculture is also another aspects of agriculture development. The ultimate aim for this agriculture development is what? We need to increase food and food security. Food security means suppose there is any natural disaster or there is a failure of crops. So what happens? When we are having more amount of crop that is stored in our godowns, that can be easily supplied to the peoples. Next, agriculture in developing and developed countries. Agriculture has developed at different places in different parts of the world. Developing countries with large population, and usually these places the practice is intensive agriculture where crops are grown on small holding or mostly for subsistence farming. So larger holdings are mostly they are suitable for commercial agriculture like USA, Canada, Australia. With the help of two case studies of farms, one from we will study how we can see one farm of India and other farm from the USA. So let us understand about the agriculture in developing and developed countries. See, a farm in India, it will becomes under developing country. Do you know? A typical Indian farmland is about 1.5 hectares in an area. High yielding variety HYV of seeds purchased from the market. Then the land is fertile and at least 2 crops in a year can be grown, which are mainly they are growing wheat, rice and pulses. The government, agricultural officers, villagers or family, they are giving advice and they help farmers in various farm activities. Usually farmers in India use some conventional methods of farming like bullocks. They are using bullocks for plugging, or some farmers now they are using tractors and tubewells on the rent. In spite of having storage facilities, some farmers forced to sell their produce on the mandis even when the market is not favorable to them. In recent past, the government has taken some steps to develop these storage facilities. We can see the example of Munna Lal. Do you know? Munna Lal has 2 buffaloes and having few hens. So what he is doing? He sells milk in the cooperative sectors that is located in the nearby town, and he is a member of cooperative society. So these cooperative society which also advise him on the type of fodder for his animals, safety measures to protect the health of these livestock, and some artificial insemination method they will adopt. All the members of the families help in various farm activities. Sometimes he take credit from a bank or the agriculture cooperative society to buy HYV seeds and implements. Do you know? He sells his produce in the mandi which is located by nearby town. Since you see, majority of the farmers do not have lake storage facilities, so that is why they are forced to sell produce even when the market is not available for favorable to them, but there is a problem of storage, so they can sell the whatever they produce in the mandi. So in recent years, the government has taken some steps to develop the storage facility. So what happened? Whatever they grown, they can store in the place, and when there is a good demand of this, so they can sell, so they will get more benefit for these farmings. Now we are talking about farm in the USA. Do you know the average size of farm in USA is much larger than that of Indian farms? When we talk about a typical size, farm size in the USA is about 250 hectares. Adequate measures are taken to control pests and that can damage the crops. Farmers send time to time soil samples to the soil testing laboratory to check whether the nutrients which are available on the soil are sufficient or not. Do you know, in case of having a negative results, farmers use some scientific fertilizers programs. For the purpose, proper sprinkling of chemical fertilizers and pesticides on the field. Farmers use computer programs so which provide a practice like satellite pictures of the field. So in conclusion, the farmer in the USA works like a businessman but not in India. Farmers are generally work as a peasant. They are in USA, the farmer works as a businessman, but what about the condition of India? Mostly they are having small plot of land, or either they works as a peasant. So now we had finished. Now we are taking some exercises of this. Answer the following question. Question number 1 is, what is an agriculture? The science and art of cultivation on the soil, raising crops and rearing livestock. It is called an agriculture. Name the factors which influencing agriculture. These are topography of the soil and second was the climate. What is shifting cultivations and what are its disadvantages? This cultivation is a form of agriculture in which a plot of land, as we know, it is cleared by felling the trees and burning them. So the ashes are then mixed with the soil and crops are grown. But what is a disadvantage? See, after the soil, it loses its fertility, the land is abundant, and the cultivators they move from one place to another to a new plot. So this is known as slash and burn agriculture. What are the disadvantages? Do you know there is a large extent of deforestation? Forest will be cut. Second, it leads to soil erosion and soil loss because the land they live, so it will too much soil erosion and it reduces the fertility. Third, only practice on small patches of the land. Next, what is an plantation agriculture? It is a type of commercial farming where a single crops like tea, coffee, sugar cane, cashew, rubber, banana or cotton is grown. It is a capital and labor intensive farming. It needs more money and it needs more farming labors. Do you know the produce may be processed on the farm itself or by the nearby factories, which highly demands the development of good transport network. Next, name the fiber crops and name the climatic condition required for the growth. Fiber crops are two types, they are cotton and the jute. What type of climatic conditions they need? Then it requires high temperature, light rainfall and 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine for its growth. Do you know it grows well on alluvial soil? Now give the reasons. First, in India, why the agriculture is a primary activity? In India, agriculture is a primary activity because 2/3 of the Indian populations still they are depend on the agriculture, and we all know that agriculture includes we are growing crops, fruits, vegetables, flowers and rearing livestock. Next, give the reason why different crops are grown in different regions. All crops are not grown in every place because different crops are grown in different regions because growing of the crops depend upon geographical conditions, demand of produce, labors, level of technologies and rainfall and quality of soil. Differentiate between this. First, primary activity and tertiary. Those activities which are associated with extraction and production of natural resources, that comes under primary. Tertiary, these activities which provide support to primary and secondary sectors through its services. So it comes in tertiary activities. Subsistence and intensive farming. Subsistence farming. This type of farming is done to meet the needs of farmers' family. It is done generally on traditional basis using low levels of technology and high household level. A variety of crops raised in small quantity on a small plot of land. Intensive farming. It is a farming only where farmer cultivate a small plot of land and they are using simple tools and more labor, and this type of farming is common in thickly populated areas, monsoon regions of South, Southeast and East Asia. So now thank you. Today we had finished this agriculture. My dear student, please learn it very well because this topic is again you study in class 10th.